Like we have like proper like arguments on this, right? And it's part of my. It's one of the favorite things I do with Akarshan. So this entire thing, right? If I am wrong, see, I know that Ekta, you have a lot of experience with it. I know Saurjit, you have fucking scaled device ka account. And Aditya, you have also been looking at all of it, all of this stuff, right? Akarshan, we already have a lot of these discussions here. If I say something that you disagree with, I want this to be a discussion on a debate. I'm not telling you and you're not listening. Okay? That's
Okay.
clear? Cool. Now what we'll do is we'll go through all the important metrics and try to talk about them like I haven't prepared. What we're going to do is we'll take each metric and we'll talk about it in a way that a non-Markops professional can understand. Like any marketer should be able to understand that metric and how it works, what impacts it, and how to make a positive impact on it and all of that stuff without having any experience in it. That is what we're trying to do. Why? Because then we'll be able to figure out that will not link wrong thing, because when we start working, right, we start seeing patterns. When we see patterns, we sometimes wrongly say that, okay, when this happens, but it might be like it not be causation, it may be correlation, which means that these two things are happening because of the same thing, but if this happens, this does not need to happen, right? uh, Sort of get it, right? I'll give you a few examples, you sort of understand that. Right, one thing, for example, one debate that Akarshan, I and George very recently had, right? That okay, how many of you agree with this? If we increase, um, if we increase the bids, the search impression share will increase for Google Ads, manual CPC. If we increase bids, search impression share will increase.
Yes, up to some level.
Ekta says yes. Sarojit?
I mean, at first I'll have to check why my impressions are getting lost. I'll check that. Is it
Okay.
due to rank or due to budget? If
Cool.
it's due to
Okay.
rank, then budget's not gonna work.
Love Sarojit's answer. Cool. Aditya, yeah, let me know if you know how to answer this. If not, that's fine, right? We'll go into it. Akarshan, we've already had this debate. Okay?
Right.
Do you want to like summarize what happened in that call, or should I?
No, let's go with the flow only.
Right. So, what Sarojit said, Ekta, that is what you have to do. Right? You have to figure out why is the impression share being lost, because if you increase the bid, but you might actually end up reducing the impression share. Why? Because let's say your budget was limited, right? And now if you've increased the bid, now you're bidding even higher. You're already spending on the budget. Now the clicks have reduced, so the impressions have reduced, so the impression share has actually reduced.
Yeah, but actually, I was assuming all the other things were perfect.
Exactly. So that is what we're trying to do in this call. We're trying to figure out, okay, how, and that's what happens, right? With experience, we start assuming a lot of things, and that is why, like, we have to sort of revise this stuff from time to time, right? And this is going to be much harder for Ekta and Akarshan than anyone else because they have the most experience in this. Swords and I don't have a lot of experience, so we'll be able to do a very good job at this very easily, right? So let's go through all the metrics one by one, and so that whenever we taking a decision, we know why we are taking it or not, right? So what metrics to look at? Let's start discussing that, right? I personally like creating a first thing that I like creating when you're looking at metrics is create a funnel to the results. For example, so we're going to mostly talking about Google Ads and LinkedIn Ads. We'll talk about, okay, if you take, let's say, CPC, how is CPC, what does CPC do increasing CPC, what happens in Google Ads, when we increase that, what actually happens in the backend in LinkedIn Ads, we'll have all of those debates, right? So first of all, when you are picking what metrics to monitor, you have to create the entire funnel. What do I mean by that? Is that if your goal is SQLs, it starts from impressions and it goes to SQLs, which means every impression, then click, and then in the middle maybe CTR. After click, there may be like depending on the situation, you may have views, you may not have views. There may be a sign form up or a lead, then there may be an SQL, or so this metric selection has to be done in a unique way for every single client, because we have to figure out what is the goal they're tracking, what are all the parts of the funnel that we have. Why are we doing that? So that as soon as we look at it, we see where is the gap. And when we look at it in a weekly manner and we see, okay, hey, what happened to the CTR? It suddenly just dropped. We can actually go dig deeper in it. That's the first thing I like to create. And the second thing I like to see is, one, what is our targets? So in every week, we need to have a target on the left, so that we're able to very clearly see that, okay, this is what our target, this is what we achieved. So how much is the difference, or how much are we overachieving? You need to see that very clearly in the same report, and in the same report, you need to be able to as much as possible understand what more can you do. For example, impression share, right? So how much can this be expanded further? Is this much? This is what I like adding. Now, is there something else that you would like to add? So what we've discussed is, in the metrics that we track weekly, there is impression share, then impressions, clicks, CTR, maybe lead gen or conversion rate, CPA, whatever A is, we have to define, and then metrics from HubSpot, meaning all of those different things. Then the target and the monthly budget target, the weekly budget target also, because we're tracking weekly. Is there any other number that you would like to track on a week-on-week basis?
Cost per
Bounce rate?
conversion.
Yeah, cost and all the costs, right? Cost per click, cost per conversion. So the same numbers when we add, we'll be able to divide that. Yes, and the spend, yes, spend, cost per conversion, spend, and then we can calculate costs of everything.
And bounce rate?
Bounce rate. Great. So you're right. So one thing that was missing in my entire thing is what is happening once people go to the website. Now, I don't know how to use bounce rate for this, honestly, right? And I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why I was staying away from bounce rate. There are two things. One is a conversion rate, one is a bounce rate, right? In a landing page, if there are no buttons except the convert button, so the bounce rate plus conversion rate would be 100%. Let me know if you understood this statement. If there is no other action to be taken, the bounce rate plus conversion rate should be 100%.
Even if that particular person is spending 2 to 3 minutes on that landing page.
Bounce rate, does that affect the bounce rate?
No.
I don't think it does.
No, bounce rate is different from average time spent on a page. Like
Yes.
bounce rate is
No.
like you stay on the page, you do something, and you then get out. The bounce rate will 100%, unless you're going into some other pages.
Yes. So bounce rate, okay, I'll tell you how technically bounce rate works, but my knowledge is only with universal analytics. I don't know how it works now. I'll tell you how universal analytics calculates bounce rates. And this is important to know how every single metric works. So behind the scenes, what is happening is that as soon as you go to a page, there is a signal being sent to Google Analytics. And I only know universal analytics. All my knowledge is coming from there. I'm assuming it remains the same for every other platform. As soon as you reach the page, there is a signal that goes to universal analytics with a timestamp. So universal analytics knows that at this time, this person came to the page. Now, there has to be a second signal that goes back. If a second signal goes back, then it will say that, okay, now it's not a bounce because there's more than one signals, and the time on page is actually the second signal ka timestamp minus first signal's timestamp. Clear? That's why if you see time on page and lot of page, you'll see 0 time on page. Why? Because if the bounce rate is 100%, even if you spend 15 minutes on the page, it's still a 100% bounce rate and 0% time on page. Okay. Now, first you have to understand that, right?
So I have a question here.
Yeah.
So you said that bounce rate will be 100% on the landing page and conversion rate will be 100%.
No. What I'm saying is bounce rate, let's say if it's 90%, if there's a landing page which has no other action to take,
Yes.
You
To
cannot
bounce.
click on the logo and go on the homepage. You cannot
Correct.
do anything like that.
Correct.
Then and there is no footer, no
Bounce
other
rate.
link except converting. Then the bounce rate, if it's 95%, the conversion rate has to be 5%. Those two combined have to be 100%.
अच्छा ठीक है. I thought you were saying that bounce rate भी 100% होगा, conversion rate भी 100% होगा.
Right.
Okay, okay.
Right. So, Ekta, are you on board with that? Bounce rate plus conversion rate is 100%. Yeah. Now, this is not true when there are multiple buttons. Right. As soon as there is a single other button, this is not true anymore. Right. So, should we look at bounce rate? Probably, which we are not doing right now. So, we probably should do it. Maybe we can look at some behavioral metrics are being skipped. So, in behavioral metrics, there can be bounce rate. What else are we skipping? There can be time on page. There can be average number of pages that people are going through. Right now, should we track that? Maybe. I don't know. We can try.
If we have like multiple pages, like then bounce rate is enough. Actually, if they're
Yep.
getting 20% bounce rate, that they no use to check the page per visit and average time because it's going very well. Yeah, it's if bounce rate is high, then we need to look up other parameter there.
Got it. Okay. So I agree with this, right? So maybe we should. So what about you, Akarshan, Sarojit, Aditya? Do you think we should also track?
And also, if we are using multiple, like generally on landing page, there are multiple CTAs. Like must be a chat button or a call button or page view and sign up. And submit button is also there. But two or more generally we have to capture the lead. So bounce
So
rate,
okay.
I think, plays a major role in this case.
Okay.
If we,
Yeah. So
So yeah.
if we are anyhow, if we are having a single CTA, then we are like
sure.
losing something.
Got it. Yeah. Aditya, you were saying something?
Yeah. So unless and until we are receiving like conversion rate that we have decided for the campaign, right? If we are getting that, then we can actually ignore the bounce rate. But if that is not achieving, then we need to focus more on bounce rate. Otherwise, because when we have the higher bounce rate, right, that sometimes this is good as well. It's
Yeah.
not always bad to have a higher
Yep.
bounce rate.
Agreed.
Right?
Yeah. There's a
Yeah.
lot of times when the bounce rate should be high. I agree. Yeah. So, for example, if you have been able to give all the information you need to give on the same page, and they don't need any more information, the bounce rate will be very high because you did a good job of giving all the information. So, yeah.
Then bounce rate will not be a parameter here.
Yeah. So, I'm just saying that it can mean different things. Very good point, Aditya. So, yeah. So, should we track it? Probably. If it changes too much, we still can look into it. What is happening, right? Don't know. Is it a priority because we're already tracking too many metrics? I'm not sure. The only way to know is to track it and then see what happens. I don't know. If you've done it and you've seen results, maybe we should, right? That's one. Now let's go through each and every. So with LinkedIn ads, normal LinkedIn website visit ads, the funnel will look almost exactly the same. If it's a lead gen ad, the funnel ends much quicker as soon as the lead is filled, and then we have to look at the email workflow separately, right? But if we are able to have the email workflow details in the same report, we'll obviously be able to look at it in a much better way. So these many people filled out the form. We can maybe look at, okay, how many calls were scheduled post that and all of that stuff in the same report. If you're able to see the entire thing, that's going to be pretty amazing, right? Akarshan, especially you, if you think कि काम बढ़ रहा है, my major project is try to automate this. So I'm speaking with like 7-8 freelancers to try and automate this. Okay.
Right.
So,
So यहाँ पे, so this is more of a drop of funnel, right? Where
yes.
what we are trying to achieve. So
Yes.
like till the time we are at the platform, that we can do. But once the funnel goes to the website, that is something which is difficult.
Yeah, we'll have to collect data from Google Ads and analytics so Google Ads for for platform metrics, analytics for bounce rate and behavioral metrics, and then we'll have to look at CRM for all the other metrics. So the data in this same report is going to be collected from 3 different places if we add behavioral one. If we
Right.
don't, then only from 2 places. But even 2 is like, it takes time.
Absolutely.
Right? But it's important. It's very important to do that. So we will have to do at least 2, maybe 3. Right? So, and on a weekly basis. So this is one thing. Now let's go through every single metric. Um, let's start with cost per clicks because it's the most fascinating metric to me, right? And we'll discuss both about LinkedIn and Google. And the reason why it's so fascinating is I don't think people realize what they're doing when they increase or decrease cost per clicks. The way these two platforms work is fundamentally different, right? So, for example, in Google, let's say you are when you increase the cost per click, so when you reduce the cost per click, and I'm talking about manual CPC because everything is automated and it's like manipulating this. So I'm only talking about enhanced or manual CPC, right? Because that then you'll be able to understand fundamentals of everything else. So now talking about manual CPC, what happens if you reduce a manual CPC में bid? What all happens, right? And just like I don't want what happens to metrics, I want to know what happens in the real world, like where does the ad show up, how does the auction work, right? So okay, I'll just quickly go through the basics of both the platforms. So in Google Ads there is a keyword that is being searched. In every search there is an auction that happens, a real auction. In the auction, your bid is a real bid in an auction. In that auction you have bid. Now whether you win or lose or in what position you comes depends on 2 different things. It depends on, one, the bid, and second, the quality of the stuff that you're showing. Why? Because Google as a business runs because it shows relevant stuff. If you're trying to run irrelevant stuff to a keyword, then you are sort of hampering the experience on Google. So Google incentivizes you to show relevant content even when you're running ads. That is why there is a huge dependence on what the quality score is of your ad to the ad group, or to the keyword, sorry, on a keyword level. So this is looked at a keyword level. Every bid happens on a keyword level. Any doubts, concerns, or did I say something wrong? You can cut me off anywhere, please. Okay?
Good so far.
Cool. So that's what happens. We'll start with Google Ads. When you bid low, if it's too low, you don't win the auction and your ad does not even show. Right? There is a minimum you can bid based on your quality score and based on what others are bidding, based on which, if your bid is too low, you will not even show. Right? Now, if there are only 3 bidders, or there's only one bidder in the world, that person is bidding $200 for a single click, and we bid $1, will we still show up in the second place?
Yep.
Right? The only thing is that person will not be charged $200 because that's your bid. Google will reduce it and charge that person lesser. Right? So one is that. So if there's only one person bidding, does not matter what your bid is, you can bid almost close to 0 and you still get the click. Okay, that's fundamental 1. Fundamental 2 is, let's say there are multiple bidders, right? So you have to make sure you show up in page 1. That's it. But what if you're bidding and your ad is showing in page 2, right? And you are getting, let's say you have is that a bad thing or a good thing? First, if your ad is showing in page 2, not even in page 1, not on top of the page, bottom of the page, in page 2.
Something which is concerned.
It's a sorry, bad or good?
Bad good पे नहीं कह सकते, but the CTR will drop.
CTR will drop. Okay. But you cannot say it's bad. Okay. Aditya, Ekta, Sarojit.
Yeah, it's all depend on budget. Because sometime at night my ad will show at the top
Yep.
when some people were bidding less.
Great. So there are one very good point that Ekta picked up. One, it will not always show in the same place because every single time someone searches, there is a new bid, that is new auction that happens. And every auction, if someone's bid is ending or someone has reduced their bids based on time, your keyword will come up. And correctly, like both Ekta and Akarshan, as they said, we don't care. Right? Second, a click in second page in Google is as good as a click in the first page. Why? Because the intent is the same, the keyword is the same, everything is the same. Just the cost per click is much lower. So if you are able to exhaust your budget and everything is coming on the second page, that's a very good thing, because you were able to maximize the number of clicks that you are getting at a very, very low cost, as low as possible. So that is the optimum scenario, honestly. The problem is you cannot exhaust your budget. Yeah, Akarshan?
No, please.
Yeah. So you actually want to, so the best case scenario is to be the lowest bidder, rank as low as possible, and spend all of your budget, get the number of clicks you want. But that is an ideal scenario. That does not happen, because due to the search volumes, you have to bid higher and go a little up on the page so that you are able to spend enough. So the only reason to increase your bids, there is no other reason to increase your bids, is to get the number of clicks that you want. Right? Because what happens, how are you calculating results? Every click in Google ad, if the quality, if you go to the landing page, what is conversion rate? What does conversion rate depend on?
The keyword intent.
Quality of audience. I'll
Yep.
just like quality of audience, and what else does conversion rate depend on?
Page speed.
Landing page.
How good is our landing page? Page speed, yeah, great. So page speed, there is like I'll categorize page speed separately, and then how well we have done conversion and optimization on the page. Page
Experience.
speed, why I'll do separate, is because when a click happens, right, if the page speed is low, page view will not happen. So there'll be like, before they reach the page speed impacts the number of people who actually reach the page. I missed that. Great catch. Right? So it depends on three things. I was going to say two. So a conversion rate depends on three things. Wait. So conversion rate actually, so if you're calculating conversion rate from clicks to conversions, then it depends on three things. If you're calculating conversion rate from page view to conversion, then it depends on two things. Right? Because clicks to page view depends on page speed. यहाँ तक ठीक है? Right? So why are we saying it does not matter? Like a page in page two, and a click in page two is also the same as click in page one, because it has no dependence on the quality. The quality of audience does not change.
Right.
Intent is exactly the same. Everything is the same. They'll maybe find more desperate people, and people who already don't like people in the first page, trying harder to look for solutions in the second page. So I can make an argument that traffic from second page is actually better. Right? So again, there can be an argument made for it's worse also. So we don't know. But there's no,
If we appear on second page, right, the impression share we are getting will be so low.
is that a factor in the conversion rate till now, impression share? We said there are three factors in conversion rate. Was impression share one of them?
I don't like, if we are getting more impressions, right, then there is a high probability of getting more conversions.
No, it's not a causation, it's a correlation. Again,
Okay.
I'll get to that, right? So the conversion rate only depends on, we all agreed to this statement: quality of conversions, page speed, quality of traffic, page speed, and the landing page. Agreed?
Right.
So if it depends on this, more clicks, more conversions. If the rest of if the quality of more clicks of the same quality, because now the second thing we agreed on, the quality of clicks is the same page one, page two. So quality does not change. So more clicks of the same quality on the same landing page will lead to more conversions. Correct? Yes. So more clicks, more conversions. Right? Now what does the number of clicks depend on? Let's discuss that. Let's not go to impression share till we have to. Impression share is my least favorite metric, because it just like everyone, it drives everyone crazy, and everyone sort of gets fooled by impression share, like every single person. So Now let's go to how can we increase number of clicks. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to increase our purpose as AdOps for Google Ads is to increase the amount of high quality audience that is sent to a good landing page, to the right landing page. That's all we're trying to do. That's the entire JD, apna, right?
Right.
Now, I know there's a lot more other stuff like managing, coordinating, communication, yeah, but like simplifying it, right, for this discussion. So, how do we get more clicks while maintaining quality?
Relevant keyword.
More keywords, more relevant keywords. And I'll sort of like keep drilling down. Impression share is not a part of. When you add more keywords, impression share ko kya hota hai?
It will go down.
It will go down because total number of impressions is going up. The impression share is actually going down when you do this activity to increase number of clicks. Okay, next one.
So do we have a
What is-
condition that the budget should be same?
Yeah, budget. So the second thing is the budget, right? Second thing, how do we increase more clicks? Increase the budget. Again, it's all linked. You cannot look at one thing in silo. Everything is linked. So yeah, but let's discuss each of one of them at one by one, and then discuss everything together. When you increase the budget, if you are able to spend it, impression share or the number of clicks increases. We're talking about clicks, right? Till you're able to spend the budget, the number of clicks increases.
Right.
So when we are discussing budget, let's discuss how can we spend more money, right? So how can we spend more money? What enables us to spend more money?
Ad copy must be differentiate from the other.
Increasing the CTR. If the ad copy is very catchy, more people will click on our ads versus other ads. So very good. I would have skipped that also. Great. So the good ad copies can actually help us spend more money. Good ad copies can also help us spend less money. Why? Because the quality score has increased, so the cost per click has actually decreased. Also, if the cost per click has decreased, for the same cost per click, now our ranking has increased. If the ranking has increased, the CTR has increased again. So good quality score and how catchy and well copywritten it is. So the ads can help us spend more money. What else can help us spend more money apart from a higher budget? A bigger bid?
Higher bid.
Yeah, a higher bid, right? Why? If you're like whatever the combination of the quality score plus how much do you spend? So how much you spend is like number of auctions you win multiplied by what you are paying per auction. Is the total spend,
Right.
right? So now let's talk about both of those one by one. When you increase the budget, what is happening? You are increasing your capability to win more auctions. So you can take part in more auctions.
For more time.
Yes. So and like how else can you take part in more auctions? By letting by not adjusting bids or stopping ads in different times or different days. How can you take part in more auctions? That's it. Like that's the question. You can even say really stupid stuff, like let's just increase the let's change the regions. If we are going to a larger region, there are more bids to more auctions that we can potentially take part in. What are other stuff we can do to take part in more auctions?
Keep the ads running.
Yeah, we discussed that, like time and all of that stuff, right? Yeah.
Then targeting more keywords.
Increase the keywords. Yeah, more keywords, more auctions. Right? Pretty straightforward. Now let's go back to, so that's the number of auctions. How do we win more auctions? An auction is won. And what do we mean by winning an auction? And how many auctions should we win? Let's discuss that first. We should win enough auctions to get enough clicks at a profitable amount to hit our target. How do we create a profitable amount? When we see, okay, this is the number of conversions we have to get, or this is the cost per conversion at which we can get a conversion. How do we calculate that number, or how would we calculate what is possible? The cost per click divided by conversion rate is the cost per acquisition. Pakka? The cost per click divided by conversion rate is cost per acquisition. Right? Yes. So
Or
our
conversion rate or like number of conversions?
conversion rate.
How is it like? Can you repeat it?
Cost per click divided by conversion rate.
It's cost per acquisition. Okay.
You want to do the math on this? Like, ek baar? Like, you can.
I mean, yeah,
you
I
can
mean, total
divide-
cost by number of number of conversion
total
into
cost
100
नहीं
is
बोलता.
like.
Oh yeah, so you're trying to divide everything. When you do it, you'll see. अभी के लिए, for the interest of time, just like agree with what I say. For this, because I'm sure
Okay.
about this. But just this, right? When you divide it, you'll see that it makes sense, right? You divide those two, you get cost per acquisition, right? This is math. It's not like that's why I'm asking to agree with me. So this is math, right? So yeah, so that is one, right? So cost per acquisition is that. Now, so we only have to control the conversion rate, and we have to control the cost per click to get a low cost per acquisition. Right? So cost per
Right.
click also, again, if you see here, what is not in the equation? Impression share. Impression share is not a part of this at all. Impression share is not a metric we need to target on or anything. Impression share is a metric that helps us take decisions. Right? It is not a metric that is part of any of the fundamentals, any of the basics. And we'll get to impression share again. But I want to drill down the fact that impression share is not a part of this again. Stick to the fundamentals. Right? So, okay. You've discussed how to increase conversion rate, right? Conversion optimization is like a separate full topic, so let's not even get there. A lot of stuff you can do, better landing pages, better quality of traffic, right? That's it. So better landing pages, we're not getting there, but better quality of traffic is better targeting. Second is cost per click. I don't even know where we started this entire thing from. I lost train of thoughts now. What were we discussing? How can we increase a number of bids we win? Yes, how many number of auctions we win? How can we increase that? Right? We can bid higher, so we win more auctions. Winning means like getting clicks and all of that at a good cost. How do we know good cost of click? If you have a better conversion rate, the cost per click can be lower. Otherwise, it has to be higher. Why? Based on the acquisition. That's what we have to figure out, right? So again, stick to the fundamentals. These are the fundamentals. Now, that's how you win more bids, right? So abhi tak theek hai? This is Google Ads. Pretty simple, right? Now you have to understand based on how does the conversion rate change. Based on the keywords, the quality of audience changes by a lot. Because the quality of audience is changing due to the change in keywords. So because of that, we need to bid lower or higher and all of that. Okay. Now, given the chance, bid as low as possible till you are able to spend your budget. Bid as low as you can to spend your budget. If you cannot spend your budget, you increase your bid till it's profitable. If it's not profitable, you leave it. You spend as much as you can while it's profitable. If it's not profitable, you stop increasing the bid. What was not discussed here? Impression share. Now impression share is relevant here, right? Because when you have to increase your budget for something, you have to know how much can I increase, how much more can I spend here. Now, on average, you cannot get more than 70% impression share in a place, right? Usually, like again, the metrics here will differ here and there. Sometimes you'll get like 80, sometimes all of that. But for a rule of thumb, let's say you cannot get more than 75% impression share for any keyword, no matter how much you bid, right? Again, just a rule of thumb, obviously not right information, no research behind it. Now, if you are bidding or currently you are getting 30% impression share, you can double your you can double the amount of clicks you're getting from there, because you can double the amount of impressions you're getting from there, and you're assuming that the CTR is not changing, right? But the problem is you're assuming the CTR is not changing. If you double the budget with the same bids, your rank may drop. If your rank drops, if you're spending less, or if you're spending less, the what all what are the factors we've all discussed it, but what are the stuff that impact CTR? Ekta said that already. One is the rank, and that is the bigger factor than the copywriting itself. And second is the copywriting. Rank has a higher impact on CTR than your how well the ad is written, honestly. But what impacts rank?
Bid quality score.
Bid and quality score. What impacts quality score? The ad. So the quality score is more impactful than how well copywritten, how well your copywriting is. Copywriting is more impact on CTR than your copywriting itself.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Has this format of discussion been useful till now? Have you learned something new? Should we continue this, or do you want to pivot to a different format now? We have 20 minutes. We can continue this discussion. This has been helpful, right? Like maybe as a revision, Ekta, was anything new to you at all, or was everything was like, हाँ ये तो पता ही है. You can say पता ही है. Okay, पता ही है. Great. So that is one, right? Now,
So यहाँ पे
yep.
the fundamentals that you have told us was bottom up, right? But what if we go top to bottom? Does it will have the same impact starting from impression to impression share to the
We don't
CTR
start
to the
from
clicks?
impression. So just like okay, so let's discuss impression. Impressions are अलग अलग से,
Okay.
right? So top to bottom you do projections. Will not
But
go
Right.
top
there.
to bottom में metrics क्यों आएगा? Top to bottom में you have goals and all, right?
That's
No.
also a good point, right? The fundamental metrics that we're discussing is not really there, but that comes in bottom up, not top to bottom.
So again, we can differentiate the funnel of the business goal, which is
Let's
top to
not get to
bottom.
projections, man. Like it's not the
No,
right
no.
call for that.
I'm just telling about the Google Ads funnel I'm talking about.
Okay.
In Google Ads funnel, we can have again top to bottom and bottom to top.
Okay.
तो अभी जो हमने डिस्कशन किया वो था bottom to top, right? We started from the conversion that we want, at what cost, at how to increase, then budget बढ़ाएंगे तो उसका impact, we'll get more impression, we'll get good position, right? So why can't we reverse it? So just wanted to know why you are more not inclined towards getting more impressions.
Because अभी तक there is nothing that we discussed जिसमें more impressions was a factor.
So more impression was a factor, or impression absolute was a factor? Absolute position was a factor.
Yeah, like but there was nothing that we discussed, right? So okay, if you want to win more, so why we didn't take impressions, right? Because that was never a factor in any of the things that we discussed, right? For example, and see optimizations ka we have a separate module, right? So again, I'll not get there because I want to cover a couple of other things, but how to optimize ke liye we have a separate module, right, of discussion that happened. So when you're looking at top to up, right, I think the module of discussion would be the optimization wala, and Ekta, that might actually be useful to you as well. So ek baar look at that. But yeah, so we take decisions based on top to bottom a lot, right? But when we are making a change, when we've taken a decision or we've analyzed top to bottom, usually when we've done the analysis and we see, okay, now what do we change to actually make the impact top to bottom, we make the changes on the bottom layer and then the impact is shown on the top layer. Here we're understanding the metrics so that we understand after we figure out, okay, what needs to change, what thing we change on the bottom layer so that the right things happen at the top. That's why most of our discussion, all of our discussion is top to bottom abhi, bottom to top abhi.
Okay.
Right? Because optimization, what to optimize is done is a separate module. Right? So now so Google Ads ka most of it we have covered, right? So impression share, the only thing that it does help you is help you with is how much potential is there. There is a second thing. There is a absolute percentage of impressions that we got on the top position. That if you ever want to know why your CTR is low, there is always a correlation between that. You want to know how many times you are bidding at the top, you'll get that, right? You want to know how much competition is there, you can look at auction insights. You'll get to know okay, who else is bidding, how much are they bidding. You'll be able to estimate and guesstimate all of that stuff, right? So skipping that for now, going to LinkedIn ads. This is where cost per click is not even the same thing. Cost per click is a very different thing in LinkedIn ads and social ads. It is not the same thing. Why? Because when you're targeting in social ads, you're not targeting the quality of audience in your target is very varied. For example, you might be bidding at for a CFO and a controller in the same ad, or you might be bidding for the for a head of HR and the CHRO in the same ad. Yes, we always do that. We add multiple audiences. Now these two audiences may have separate bids. Also, you might have multiple locations in the same ad. Now this is where it gets very tricky. Because in Google ads we didn't care. We just made very small audiences. Right? In Google, even like SCAG is a concept. Like make one keyword, one ad group, one region. Like that's literally a SCAG, single keyword ad group. Even that is a strategy. Why we cannot do it in social is because of how social like it works, like technically, right? We cannot do targeting at a very minute level, or the cost per clicks and all of that rush up. So we have to have to put a broader audience in the same audience, and then you have to run ads. Now what happens when you increase the keywords here, increase the cost per click here? Again, we'll talk about enhanced CPC or manual CPC, because that will dictate everything else. Everything is just like mimicking that. What happens when you increase keyword bids in let's say LinkedIn for an HR campaign? Because HR everyone understood, there's a head of HRs and there are CHROs. Let's say you increased cost per click. What happens that does not happen in Google? What is different? Everything that happens in Google happens here as well, most of it. What is different here?
So you will get again, you'll get more reach. If so, what is the result that we want to have to get more clicks?
No, we again the goals as MQL, SQL, whatever is the goal of the company, and the answer that I want is not in metrics, but in what happens in the real life when we're doing that. Who does the ad go to? Where does it show? How does it look like? I want answers like that, not in metrics.
Can you repeat the question?
What happens when you increase the bids in LinkedIn ads? Okay, so what happens is there are multiple audiences, right? When you increase the bid, if you have a low bid, you still may be able to get clicks, but you will usually get the clicks from you will always get the more clicks from the audience which has a significantly lower bid,
Right.
which means the quality of clicks are very different when you increase the bid and you decrease the bid. Because this is the big fundamental difference between LinkedIn or any social platform and Google, that the quality of clicks changes with the cost per click. Because this happens, everything about bid management changes. Because what we are doing in bid management, the primary thing that we manage is cost per click and budget. If the cost per click, what happens when we change that is fundamentally different, we have to think about it in a fundamentally different way.
Right.
I'm just pausing, like think about it so slow. Any questions, thoughts, or we'll go to real examples with this.
So let's say, uh, so does it impact the position? Obviously, there is no defined position. कि second आएगा, fourth आएगा, but ऊपर आएगा, नीचे आएगा. Does it matter?
I don't think it matters, right? Like ऊपर और नीचे का concept, there's no top or bottom in general, right?
Because that is the infinity soul.
Yeah, there's no top or bottom. Like and we don't know who's more engaged when they see the first or last, or I don't think that even changes,
So
right? So
that's what LinkedIn guy has told me,
that,
that it actually there is a factor of position as well, because as soon as you open LinkedIn, uh, you are more focused on the feeds that you see, right? So whenever you open
I
LinkedIn, the
mean,
first two three feeds we
I
are
can
more
also
focused
sort
on.
of say that as soon as you open LinkedIn, I'm there to look at LinkedIn. Then I got bored, and if I see an ad, then my intent would have changed, and I'm more likely to convert then.
Yeah, again, that is another point. So, but as soon as you keep on scrolling, your speed gets faster, and you are more likely to skim the content as compared to when you
Yeah,
open
yeah,
the feed, you are very much focused and read the long posts. But as soon as you go down, you started skimming and then eventually close
yeah,
LinkedIn.
yeah. Good point. Yeah. So if we bid higher, do we come to the feeds of people faster?
Yeah,
The
matlab, I
number of
think
impressions will increase in LinkedIn if we increase our bid. If we increase our bid, our impression will increase. Number of impressions.
We will get to that, Ekta. So Akarshan, do you think the position also changes with the increase in bid?
I do think that, because there is a focused position or something as defined.
Okay, great. I did not know that. So okay, that's something new I learned. Okay, so the position also changes in LinkedIn. We don't know how much of an impact that makes. I don't know.
Right,
Right? So
right.
we'll have to test that out. But we'll need data for that, which LinkedIn does not provide.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's no metric to see where in the page there is, like it is there in Google Ads. Google Ads, the metric to see position is the absolute top percentage, जो भी thing, impression share. In LinkedIn, we don't have any data to look at it, so we just cannot know what is happening. So I don't think we should factor that in, because it's very dangerous to do that, because we don't even have any data to look at what is happening. It's very dangerous to use that, is all I'm saying. Right? Just
Yeah.
Akarshan, like, do
So,
you agree, disagree with that?
no, obviously that is agree, because if we don't have the data, we can't measure how it's performing.
Yeah. So if we can get a better way to measure it, then we'll test it, and then we'll say that, okay, position does it matter, does it not matter, and all of that. In Google Ads, I've not seen a difference. That's why I'm confidently saying that second page, first page, bottom of the page, top of the page does not give a shit. Like, no one cares. And I've not seen a difference in conversion rates due to that. LinkedIn ads, I do not know, but you will most probably see a difference in cost in conversion rates when you bid higher in LinkedIn. Why? Because the quality of audience most probably is better in LinkedIn when you bid higher versus um, in Google. Now, I still like bidding as low as possible. That does not. That is because of how I set up the campaigns. Now, okay, how do you control this? Right. So, if you bid, are you more likely to get better audience if you bid higher? Yes. If you bid very low, will you not even ever reach a set of audience who have a much higher bid range? Yes, you will never even reach the CFOs, maybe. You're only reaching controllers, or you'll never reach CHROs. You're only reaching head of HR. You'll not even reach the other audience if that happens. Right? That is a fact, right? Now, similarly, even with regions, right? And Akash and I have like fought with this a lot of times. If you ever run an ad where India is an audience and US is an audience, and you look at the metrics, almost like 95, 99% of your clicks will come from India. Why? Bids are much lower in India. You'll spend all your money there, right? How do you control this? Ideal scenario: create very, very targeted campaigns. That is the ideal scenario. Create very targeted campaigns so that similar audiences are in a single targeting, which means every campaign, yeah, I don't know what it's called, campaign, ad group, campaign group, all of that stuff. I don't like, it's very hard to keep track of. So campaign is like one message and one audience, right? So create very, very specific, select very specific audience in one ad that you're running, right? which means like you cannot run the same ad for India and US. Any two regions which have very different, or any two audiences which have very different cost per clicks, don't put in the same ad group. It could be different
Right.
because of seniority, it could be different because of job titles, it could be different because of region, it could be a lot of different things. Don't put everything in the same place.
Yes, agreed.
Right? How do you know you're doing that? If you look at the metrics of who is actually clicking on the ad, who's engaging with your ad, and you see, okay, this one segment of people is a very high percentage, then you probably want to remove that segment and move it to a separate campaign. You want to keep doing that till you are able to manage, okay, this is really the segment I want to reach, and you increase the bid then. Understood the fundamental difference in cost per click in LinkedIn and Google?
Yeah.
Yeah. The rank thing, Akarshan, if you find a way to test it, we will. Otherwise, we're ignoring it for now. Right? Don't think about that
ठीक
when
है.
you're thinking cost per click. Abhi. So
Okay.
then how do we do cost per clicks? Wait, how do I do cost per clicks? Akarshan disagrees with me every single time. And you all may also disagree with me every single time. It's up to you. How I do cost per clicks is create the small audiences, reduce, set it to manual CPC, keep as low bid whatever whatever LinkedIn suggests, bid lower than the lower suggestion, right? It says a range, bid lower than that, and add, like, let's say it suggests like $7 to $10, bid 5.23, like some random number at the end of it, so that if someone is bidding 5, you still are higher than that. If someone is bidding like 5.1, you're higher than that. 5.2, still higher than that. So sort of add that. I don't know if it works. Someone told me it does, so I do it. Right? So, but bid lower than whatever they are. Now, if you're able to still spend all the budget, lower the bid. Keep lowering the bid till you're able to spend the budget. If you cannot spend the budget, keep increasing the bid till you can spend the budget. That is it. And make sure your groups are very low. I don't like maximize conversions because I have no control over things. The cost per clicks have always run up. I have never seen it work very well. Akarshan might have used it secretly and it's working really well, but which I do not know about. So
Yeah, I used it. I think couple of times I've used it.
okay, nice. I'm sure like Ekta would have also used maximize conversions, and
The only thing it guarantees is like exhausting your whole day's budget. That it ensures, like you spend, like if it's 5,000 rupees per day for in particular campaign, it will make sure that you spend $5,000 for the whole day.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So we are almost at the end. Ending notes, like, yeah. Ekta, was there anything at all that you learned that was new?
Yeah, I'm understanding.
Your voice is low.
Yeah, I'm getting more understanding about LinkedIn, like that position one and bidding.
Okay.
Bidding, yeah, what I do generally, if they are demanding 10, then I generally put 9.99.
Yeah.
So,
Bid even lower. Try that. If it is still able to spend it, great. Right. Now, anything else, like Aditya? I think it's very new for you, so I'm not asking you. Um, so Arjit, you have done a lot of Google ads. You've also done LinkedIn ads. Did you learn something new?
Yep, a lot of things were new for me. Like the perspective, not the things, but like perspective. From a new
yeah,
perspective.
Okay.
Yeah.
main
Yeah.
perspective.
Akarshan?
Yeah, definitely the perspective. I agree with Saurabh.
Yeah, I mean, we've had like the same discussion so many times. Every time you optimize something, we have a fight on this. So,
Right. But yeah, I have such examples that I can show that on even Google Ads, maximize conversions have worked.
oh, Google Ads. I'm not saying maximize conversions. Okay, I'm not saying any bid strategy is bad. Okay, now maximize conversions and all of that. That I think that's great ending notes. Why we only discussed manual bidding? We only discussed manual bidding because we know what happens and we can understand the metrics. As soon as you use maximize conversions, as soon as you use target CPA, the same. So Google is now setting these things for you. These are not bad, they are amazing. I myself will suggest you to move to maximize CPA, maximize target CPA, all of that. I'll tell you to do that. Why? There are times when you do that. When do you do that is very different. Might be a separate shorter video or conversation for that, but um, Yeah, so if there are too many optimizations to do, so target CPA and all of that is very good. I actually recommend it. As soon as you have enough data, move to target CPA, right? Because it will start doing optimizations which we cannot do manually. Sunday 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. reduce the bids by 30% in this one specific country. Do this in this campaign. Do this when it's 160 ad groups and 160 campaigns. There is no way we can do that. There is absolutely no way we can go to every single ad group, do an in-depth analysis, and make a change. Target CPA is amazing, right? So I'm not. If it came off of that, it does not. I'm not saying that those are bad. Those are really, really good tools to use. Maximize conversions.
Yeah,
I don't know how to use it.
it's all case by case thing. So yeah, nothing is bad. So they have created everything as per different scenarios. You have to find it what suits you best.
Yes, but no matter what you pick, fundamentals don't change. You still track the fundamentals. You still track the same metrics. You still nothing changes. If your fundamentals are being impacted as soon as you move to any sort of automated bidding, you roll back. Why? Because your fundamentals were impacted in a negative way. If those are impacted, you know the rest of it is going to suck, right? So if fundamentals are bad, there is no way you're getting good results. If you're getting good results and fundamentals are bad, your fundamentals were wrong, right? Strong statement. Okay. I don't think we need a separate session for automated bidding because yeah, we can maybe skip that. Or should
Yeah,
we?
definitely. No, definitely not.
Okay, cool. Okay. Hopefully this was helpful. This will be recorded. You'll always have access to this. We'll consider putting it on YouTube for everyone, or we might keep it internally as our own training. Let me look at that. Cool. Think about what the next training should be or the next discussion should be, right? Because after this, there's a lot of stuff I cannot teach. You will have to take. So think about what training should be maybe taken.